Welcome.
We're probably going to need to do a sound check.
All right, sound check. Sound check time. Have to wait for the lag. Is that what we need to do?
I'm going to hit refresh and see what
Good
happens.
morning, everyone. Hope you are having a great start to your day. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. All right, I would say that works.
Am I working? Yep. All
All
right. Cool.
right, you can hear both of us. Congratulations.
All right.
All right, welcome to the ABA Business Leaders News.
Yes. And we are on YouTube and LinkedIn for anyone that would prefer that. So hopefully this is going to work. We have new fancy mics.
Yeah, we're trying it out. So if I seem like a little weird or stiff, it's because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to keep my mouth close to this mic,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's a whole thing. So we'll be playing around with these for a while to get figure it out. So give us your feedback. Let us know if you can hear us well or not well or
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm
And
going to open up
I've
Facebook
got
just so that I can
some
monitor the comments.
wild hair. Okay, sounds great. Can't wait to find out all of the new things coming along in the ABA news world.
Yeah,
Okay. Are we ready to go?
I believe so.
All right.
And
Are you watching comments in? Okay.
okay. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get into it.
I'm excited to see what's going on in the world of ABA. Whew.
Wonder if I click that. Wonder if I do that.
That's a good question.
All right. Hopefully everyone can see it. Okay.
All right. All right. Our first article for today, the contract temptation. Why classifying BCBAs as 1099s may be a risk for ABA companies.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yes. All right. So the contract temptation. A growing number of ABA companies classify BCBAs as 1099 independent contractors. IRS guidelines stress employment when work performed is key aspect of the business. So like that's what the IRS says that like if the work being completed is the key aspect of the business, then you cannot do a 1099. You need to do like as an employee.
Correct.
Common practice of 1099 BCBAs supervising W-2 RBTs introduces serious legal and payer risks. So I'm assuming that if that would like send up a red flag if you have W-2 RBTs and 1099 BCBAs, or like not even RBT and BCBAs, but you have W-2 employees and I mean W-2 staff and W-2 1099 staff, like they're like, why do you have both? And
Right,
then
but
they start to look into it more.
right, but also the fact that um the 1099s are supervising the the employees.
That's where it gets, yeah.
Does that make
Because
sense?
I mean, we've said for a while, and I'll read the rest of this
Hmm.
article, but we've said for a while, like, okay, not only RBTs, yes, and the board has even come out and said that RBTs have to be 1090,
And even
classified as
BTs in their
W-2s,
opinion. Yeah.
and BTs
Yeah.
classified as W-2. And we've said for quite a while, due to the IRS rule, that the BCBAs, most BCBAs fall under that category too. So key points to raise: most BCBAs performing core services, plans, supervision, authorization should be W-2. The IRS rule: if the worker provides services that are a key aspect of the regular business. Misclassification may result in an IRS audit, tax penalties, or payer recoupments. Supervising employees as a contractor increases liability and breaks chain of accountability. Medicaid and insurance contracts often require clinical work to be performed by employees. So I guess where it might be different is if you do have you're contracting with, a BCBA who's like a feeding specialist or, any like, they have some specialty that your team doesn't have, and so you bring in another BCBA to contract with because
Correct.
they're not a key aspect, they're providing supplemental or support, things like that, right?
Right, but more when you're doing that, you're probably paying, like, a flat rate, one-time thing. They're coming in for a limited scope,
Mhm.
right? They're doing this one specific training, and then that's it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, whereas a lot of BCBAs that are contractors for an ABA company, it's like, most of the time, I'm not even seeing a contract, right? They're
Right.
just like, "Okay, I'll pay you," and you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's not limited in scope. It's, "Hey, you're gonna be a contractor forever, and you're gonna work with any clients that I say." It's not like, "Okay, you're gonna work with these 3 specific clients, you know, for
Mhm.
the next 6 months." It's, "Hey, if anybody comes in, you're gonna work with anybody I ask you to," right? There
Right.
is that kind of, unwritten, uh, rule, I guess you could say, that I don't know how else you would state that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and 2, looking at, if you bring someone in for supervision of it in a specific situation, right? Then that there again, it's like a standalone, you have a contract, they are providing a very specific service.
correct.
So, recommendation for providers review IRS classification rules and compare them to your current BCBA rules. I think this is very important. As we say, like, don't take our word for it. Go out and do your own research. We're just getting the conversation started and we're, letting you know that, like, what's even out there, right? Like, what do you need to be aware of?
Yep.
And so go look at the IRS classification and compare it to your current BCBA rules and see where you land. Um, do not assign contractors to W-2 employees. This increases audit and legal exposure. So, you may need to look at revamping or like redoing how you supervise your staff, right? Um,
I'm moving it on.
yeah, thank you for giving me that heads up. So offer part-time or PRN W-2 roles to support flexibility without compliance risks, like we mentioned earlier. Document your classification decisions and consult legal or HR professionals. So great. So you read the IRS classification rules and you compare them to your current BCBA rules and how you run things in your company, and you say, no, this fits. I feel very confident in how we're doing things. Okay, write up a document, write up
Right,
your justification, put it in writing, give it to your BCBAs, give it to your employees, put it as part of your employee handbook for, oh my gosh, the word just left my brain
for the world to see.
for the world to see.
Mhm.
No, for transparency.
Sure.
And send it to your legal and your HR professionals, your tax, people, and say, "Hey, this is how we're doing it. Feel pretty confident. Just wanna get your approval," or whatever, right? Or your input. Um, educate clinical leadership about risk tied to mixed model staffing. Like I said, you need to be transparent to your staff and especially those in leadership role. And those of you who are listening who aren't an owner and you are in a clinical leadership role, these are great questions to ask your admin, right? Like your owner team. Those who are above you, like, how am okay, hold on a minute, I'm classified as 1099. Can I understand more about how that works in the whole role of things
Right,
here, right? Because remember, it's not only the top down, it's not just the leader, it's not just the business owner's responsibility, it's also your responsibility as an employee or as a contractor or, part of the team there at that ABA agency to ask questions and to understand how things are and to help keep each other accountable. Do you have a question?
we got a comment.
All right. So it is amazing to me how many companies continue to take the risk of hiring BCBAs as 1099s. I agree, Alicia. That's like to me, it's even more about that. Can I sleep at night?
Mhm.
It's more about that, like reducing my anxiety and stress of, okay, this is something that seems pretty much black and white. Yes, it might feel like it costs more to have BCBAs as an employee, as
Yeah,
W-2, but in the long run, like, I don't know,
yeah.
feels
I
worth
mean,
it.
some of the pushback I'll get as well, they're only working, a few hours a week. Well, that's a part-time employee, not a contractor, right? The number of
Mhm.
hours worked per week does not dictate if they're a contractor or not. So, just some of the things that the article goes over and, check out the link. It's one of the top articles, for this week. But, w do you
Yeah, I just had a question.
okay, go for it.
So the PRN W-2, is that something different that we need if this is something we want to do? Do you know more about the PRN W-2 role, Stephen? That's a new thing to me as well.
I'll have to look that up.
It's
I'm
like
not
the as
100%. Yeah,
needed, like
yeah.
it's yeah.
Um, check out the article. It may talk about that in
Mhm.
there. Um, but, duh, duh, duh.
Yeah, we have several questions on the PRN part.
Sure.
So, like, I know just in general that, like, PRN means as needed, right? Like, just as like and that I think that was just
Well, like,
confirmed
yeah,
here.
that's part-time, right? So
Mhm.
it's basically
On
like
call, flexible schedules rather than a
yes,
fixed schedule.
still is not a contractor,
Kind of
right?
like a substitute teacher or a substitute staff member too, because it says they're available to fill staffing shortages or cover shifts when needed, often for short periods or on an as needed basis.
Right,
A flexible someone with a flexible schedule that's not a set schedule, on call as needed basis, no fixed workload, cover staffing shortages. I know, like, just from friends that I have who are in the nursing sector that this is like a normal occurrence within nurses, and it was just confirmed here
right.
that they said that, like, you see this a lot, with nurses or other healthcare professionals when you need staff to fill in gaps. Um, so, yeah, especially those of you with clinics who may have, like, that floater position or, then that would fall under that category.
Not
So,
a
this is
contractor.
saying that that's still W-2
Correct.
role, that it's not contractor. Like I said, contractor is you reach out to a BCBA who is, a feeding specialist, and you want them to either train your staff or consult on a case or, if you're with the, like, teens and adult populations and maybe you have, like, a sex, BCBA, come in who can, like, understand, like, all that's their specialty, right?
Right.
And so you come in and you have them consult or, there's a lot of there are many different examples, like, in that, but just think, like, they have a specific specialty. They're coming in even if they're coming in and they have, like, a year-long contract or something, okay, and then maybe they come, like, once a quarter to check in or something like that, but they're not when you're thinking of, like, team building activities, they're not someone you're gonna invite necessarily, like, they're not I mean, you might over time consider they may feel like part of your team, but they're not like your necessary
Right.
team members to do your day to day.
Right, if you're dictating what practice management software they use, how they
Mhm.
supervise their staff, right? Like where you're going to pay them, how often you're going to pay them, those things. If you're dictating that, then they're probably an employee, not a contractor.
Yeah, I don't believe that PRN W-2 is a specific
No, no, no.
category
Sorry.
that you
Yeah,
don't worry, you don't have to go and, like, look at your W-2s, your tax forms for all your staff or anything. No, it's just describing, like, a type, but it's not a classification. It's a W-2 is a W-2.
yes, yeah. There's no difference between a W-2 part timer versus a W-2 full time. It's just a different kind of a lot of people assume that the PRN position where, oh, they work 1 hour this week, they work 3 hours 3 weeks from like, you know what I mean? There's like a split, and they're just
Mhm.
working occasionally. There isn't a set part-time, like, they're working 5 hours every week. right?
This might
Oh,
be something a great thing to add, like, into a job description. Like,
yeah,
if you do have, like, something that you're like, "Okay, I have a couple of these roles that actually fit into, like, a PRN," that might help to explain that particular job description and give more information to the people looking for that job, but it's not gonna change anything in the
correct,
taxes.
correct. Yeah, it's just because a lot of people will assume, well, they only work 1 hour every once in a while. They must be a contractor, but that's not necessarily the case. Again, if it's limited in scope, if they're doing one particular thing for you, like you mentioned, a specific training or some oversight of all of your staff, right? Maybe they're doing some auditing, like as an external auditor, those could be contractor positions. But if just because they're doing it, somebody got sick and you needed somebody to step in to do some supervision, that doesn't make them a contractor. Does that make sense? It's still key aspects of the company. Does that
So, and I know that, like, through 3 Pi Square,
Mhm.
ABA Business Leaders, we hire contractors, and they have, like, a specific like, a specific project that has
Correct.
a beginning and an end. Now, it could be like, once this project's done, then we decide if we're gonna do another contract for another project.
Correct.
It could be a 6-month project or a 3-year project, but it's like so but we could still run our company without this person. Well,
Correct.
yeah, officially.
We wouldn't want to.
We would want to.
Yes.
But that I think that's kind of too, like, how you can categorize it
Mhm.
too. Like, it's like a very specific project. Let's say you hired somebody to come in and, like, you wanted to offer CEUs within your company for your staff, and you hired somebody to come on and do, like, a whole CEU project, and that was their sole
Right.
position was to come up with CEUs and train your staff, and you have a contract, and you have, like, an end like, the
Right.
project ends, right? Has a specific ending, it's just that one thing. But then if they are like, "Oh, they really fit into the company," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, I need you hey, oh, you can sub for this BCBA that's going out on maternity leave? Great." Well, then you're starting to get on that, like,
Correct.
"Okay, do
Correct.
we need to reclassify
Yes.
this person?"
Alright, we got 2 more articles.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. We were both kinda going. So
It's a
next,
big yeah,
yeah,
it's a big it's very worth the time to talk about.
totally.
Alright, next article, when systems fail quietly. Hmm. Optum, Medicaid, Medicare fraud,
Yep.
and the ABA fallout we can't ignore. I feel like we need dun 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 music or something. When systems fail quietly. So United Health Optum under DOJ investigation for Medicare Advantage fraud. ABA providers report abrupt, unexplained, without cause contract
And
terminations.
I know that
This
Medicaid
is
and Medicare are different things. I just
okay.
yeah.
So this is from like they
So Optum
cancel the
is, like, just
contract.
saying, "Okay, we're canceling your contract
Okay.
without clause."
Terminations coincide with audits, change healthcare ransomware breach, and payer silence. Okay, that's a lot to unpack here.
Yes.
All right, so I'll go over the key points and the recommendations, and then we can have our conversation.
Yep.
This is definitely going to be something I'm going to want to check this article out and read a lot more about it. So key points to raise: national scrutiny may be impacting how payers manage contracts behind the scenes. Without cause, terminations leave providers with no explanation or recourse. Medicaid clients, especially those on managed care plans, are at high risk for care disruption. Small and mid-sized ABA businesses face sudden revenue loss and operational instability. Lack of transparency undermines trust and client continuity. That's so much.
So this is like I'm not seeing anybody talk about this, so I just wanted us to talk about this
Yeah.
because it's happening to ABA specifically. So there's a lot going on here, but Optum has been having some issues lately. The Change Health, where there was a breach. Then we had Optum is now under investigation for doing some I don't allegedly doing some sketchy things on the Medicaid side of things.
Mhm.
And then we also have there's customers like not customers, ABA practices are just getting letters from Optum right now, and I'm seeing it in Facebook. That's it. I've seen this several times now, where they're just getting a letter saying we're terminating the contract without clause.
Well, we have a comment here. This is what happened to me, and I'm still fighting them. They
Yeah.
claimed I requested the termination of the contract. My lawyer is involved now. That sounds messy. That sounds
Yes.
like a lot.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And so if you're relying for Optum for, you know, at 50% of your clients, and then you get a letter saying we're terminating your contract in 90 days, like that's really difficult. Like, where do those
Mhm.
families go? First of all, right? But how do you transition out of some of these cases? Like, how do you do that ethically in 90 days? I don't know if it's possible. Maybe some cases, but I can't, like, you know, especially if there's I'm probably not saying it correctly, but like severe behavior, elopement, right? Where these kids could potentially, like, you know, but if they lose their provider, they're going on a wait list.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a lot of ethical ethical here because, like, if they are in a very, like, pivotal part time of treatment, right? Like, you know, if you hit it at the extinction burst or something, right? Like, I mean, there's so much. You guys know, even if they don't have severe behaviors, they deserve continuity of care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think it matters. Um,
And I don't know who reached out, and said they're going through that, but if you would like to come on and discuss what is going on, we would love to have you, even if you just wanna do it through email, just to keep us in the loop, on how you're getting through this. If you're able to resolve it, I would love to know. I think it would be helpful for all ABA providers just to know that this is a thing that's happening right now, and we all need to work together to try to fight back.
yeah, we know this person quite well, so we
Great,
probably could have that conversation.
awesome.
All right. So, recommendations for providers: review all payer contracts for without cause clauses and termination timelines. Okay. How do you know that there's a without cause clause?
They're probably all they probably like I don't know of any contract that we had with a funder.
Would you need to be an attorney to know that there's a without cause clause in
You
there?
could just throw like most of your contracts are probably going to come in PDF. I'll open it up in your PDF viewer on your computer, search for without clause a cause, and you'll probably see it there.
Okay.
I don't know that you would want because it's going to be mutual, right? So I don't know that you would want a contract without that anyway, but just know that
Mhm.
that's there. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Be aware of it.
Yes.
Be aware of it. And
Yeah.
that's something that we've talked about before, and this is now gonna jump up on my list of uh importance is having a offering a course or a podcast or something talking more about how to read these contracts, right?
I totally agree. Yes.
Because there's that you c yeah, they're just a bunch of legalese, right?
Yes.
All right. Proactively communicate with families who may be affected by contract changes. I mean, I think this is all families. I think this is part of the conversation you have when you talk about payment and insurance and how insurance works and copay and out of pocket max and what happens if insurance doesn't pay, what's responsibility on them, and what does that truly look like, and what is the likelihood of that happening? And of course, if you know that you're specifically dealing with one of these problem kids in insurance, then, um, yeah, I definitely keep parents in the loop because nobody wants to be, um, caught off guard by something like this, and it's just part of that, like, being transparent and communicating. Ensure audit documentation is complete, compliant, and time stamped.
Yeah, we just don't wanna give them a reason, right? And so I get that they have without cause. It's like the get out of jail free card, but we still don't wanna give them any kind of, um,
Mhm.
like, yeah, some
No
kind of,
reason.
apparent reason to terminate your
You
contract.
don't want them to be able to find, like, a little tiny
Yep,
mistake and then take that and run with it
yep,
and then make it your problem,
yep.
like, your fault. Maintain a diversified payer mix to reduce reliance on a single entity. I cannot say this enough. In the very beginning, I was like, "We have to go with all these different people. Can we just take one? Can we take one and then once we kinda get that under control, then maybe we could add a second, and then it's 'cause we lived, like, in we started a company in Northern Virginia, and we could have gone with 1 payer and had plenty of
Yes.
work to do,
The
right?
T. Yeah.
Um, and but Steven was, like, so smart from the very beginning. We made a lot of mistakes, but this one thing that he was, like, adamant, and he was so
Yeah.
smart at the beginning, "No, we have to diversify, 'cause what if one we have an issue
You
with
can't
one?
have all your
You
eggs
just
in one
can't have all
basket.
your eggs in one
No.
basket." So engage with Medicaid liaisons and legislators to protect continuity of care. I think this is a big one. It's not just about us and our own little bubble, like, we have to collaborate with other providers, we have to communicate, we have to reach out to liaisons and legislation, and we have to, like, fight this thing together, right?
Yeah, and I would urge all of you listening to this, if you're not affected by this, great. But you wanna have that plan in place now that we know that this is a potential risk.
Mhm.
Who am I gonna reach out? Who are my state legislators? Who are my, state level organizations that I'm gonna reach out to? Am I gonna reach out to CASP? Am I gonna reach out to ACQ? Am I gonna reach out to Jade Health? Right? Like, who are my go-tos so that I can at least have that process going on? Am I gonna reach out to an attorney? Who am I gonna reach out to?
Mhm.
So that if something like this does happen, you're not spending the first 4 weeks of your 90 days figuring out who your team is, right?
Yeah.
So I would come up with just a list of like, these are the people that I'm gonna reach out to if something like this ever happens, so that you don't have to be in a panic, finding out who am I gonna reach out to.
And again, this is why it's so important to know to already have some relationships with providers in your area. Can't stress that enough, a lot of times, we don't see that,
Mhm.
right? You're not gonna have coffee with the owner of the ABA agency down the street or across town, right? But I urge you to reach out to someone in your town, and if you're like, "Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, I'm the only person," well, then someone in a neighboring town, someone in your state,
Yep.
and start these conversations with each other. How can we help each other? How can we what's a problem that we can work on together? Let's have coffee and get to know each other, so, okay, enough about that. We
Yeah,
have
we
one
have
more
one more. It's
article.
kinda big too.
No,
So,
oh my
yeah,
goodness, you're
I know.
bringing all the big stuff
Yeah.
on a
I
holiday Monday morning when we're trying to keep it under
Yeah,
30
yeah, I know,
minutes.
but so this one we might just have to wait and talk about it next time or just leave it, but it's
Let's do it,
yeah,
let's do it. Whose hand is on the wheel? What a Reddit oh dear, Stephen.
yeah.
What a Reddit AI experiment means
I
for the
was
future of clinical judgment in ABA. I don't want to do
so
this,
I
but we're
was
going to.
I was thinking that, maybe 2, maybe I just do 2 today, and I was like, 3," like, I should definitely have 3 this week. So this one's hard. So I'll just go briefly over what this Reddit
No, I
A
know what this was about.
Oh, you
This
do?
was
Do
no,
they? No.
you. I
Okay.
know what you because we were putting up our pool, and this was your escape tactic. You're like, "Okay, do I get back out there and work on this pool, or do I have to or can I just like, oh, I think I'll just do one more article."
Anyway, so, um, this, they had 13, chat bots in Reddit in this subreddit, which was Change My View. So it's these people they're going to Reddit to get a different point of view, a different perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to look at this differently. So they put 13 chat bots. No one knew about this. And, the experiment showed that it was so easy for these AI chatbots to change people's perspective. It was just ridiculously easy to do it. And so when I read that, I was like, "Okay, where are we using AI right now?" Right? And we see these companies that are using AI to make clinical decisions. And so, we have I think the average VCBA is 3 years experience in the field, right? And so I'll just lay out the premise. Like, what happens if your AI chatbot is in practice management software, I don't know which one, with just a 10% increase in service hours? So they say, you know what, this kid could get to by with 25, but we're gonna recommend 28. Well, just a 10% increase. They are then going to get more money from that, right? They're gonna because they're gonna get the fee to do the insurance. So the question is, who's making the decision? Is this chatbot influenced by something else that is going to recommend service hours that may not necessarily be needed? I'm not saying that they are. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm
Mhm.
saying if we're so reliant on AI to make some of these decisions, that we just let them make some of these critical decisions, like in this article we go through, there's already an issue where like how many hours are being recommended are kind of all over the place,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so now instead of figuring that out, we're saying, oh yeah, AI can do this. Like who's behind the AI, right? And no AI system is like how do you say that word? No AI system is neutral. It's not like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
right? There's somebody's programming that behind the scenes, right? And so if this company that has created this AI is like, hey, you know what? If we recommend more hours, we'll also get more on the billing side of things. We'll also get more employees signing up for this because there's more billable hours to do. So we'll get more user engagement because they have to get more users because of so many hours, right? And so this is the piece that I just, again, I'm not saying it's here yet. I'm just saying this is something that we have to look out for, right? Very similar to accreditation. It's not here yet, but it's coming, right? It's right there. I can feel it, I can taste it, right? And this to me is the other thing that we just have to be aware of when we start using AI. What is behind this? Why is it recommending this?
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, this is I started to feel my face started to feel a little numb there for a minute as I was like
Right,
completely like,
right.
wow, just the ramifications and like a little bit of fear, a little bit of fascination, with all of this, right?
Yes.
Um, but just like I think a lot of what we talked about today, I think as long as if we pause and we start to ask ourselves why, what's the intention and what's our intention and why, and get curious about these things and not just take everything at face value and not just like accept, okay, this is what it is, this is what everyone's doing, let's do this, right? Whether it's like writing your handbook or using AI, incorporating AI or like all the things, right? Like taking that pause and saying, "Okay, what's the intention here?"
Right,
Right? Why am I doing this?
right,
Why are they wanting me to do this?
right.
What could this look like for, my company, for my clients, for like like the quality that's coming out at the end
Yes.
of the day,
I,
right?
I think the other thing that I would like to say and why I think it's such a concern is because we're all ABA practice owners are super busy,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they're seeking out ways to improve efficiencies, reduce like the admin burden, right? And so they are looking at these amazing AI systems. But again, like if you aren't 100% sure on how you come up with the hours that are medically necessary now, then letting AI come up with that, you may just say, you know what, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure that's perfectly acceptable. Where you don't know where that's coming from. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah,
So
no.
there's some there and maybe it is ethical, but is it morally acceptable to be allowing that piece out of your hands, right? To
And to what level, right?
yes.
What, do we just hand it all over or do we use it as a tool
Yep.
and then we have our own metrics and
Checks
our
in
own
place.
checks in
Yes.
place to be able to keep it
Yep.
in within the lane that we want
But
it to be
it's
in.
kinda like, it's kinda like there's like this huge, store, out there where what they'll do is they'll go into a town. Starts with a W. They'll go into a town and they'll reduce their prices drastically. So
Mhm.
everybody starts using it because, well,
Mhm.
the prices are so cheap. And then like a frog in hot water, they start to gradually raise their prices so that you don't even know, right? And now you just go, well, they're the cheapest place to go. Why wouldn't I go there?
Yeah.
And so my concern is this: maybe it starts off, it's like almost perfectly accurate. It can do it better than you can. And then
Mhm.
over time, we let that piece go because you know what I mean? And then gradually the incentive structure of the system changes. And we don't know,
Yeah.
but we've already lost that piece because we don't do it anymore. So this is just a worry that I have, right? And so I just wanted to throw that out there and make it a worry that you now have.
Gee, thanks.
Yep.
No, but having these conversations, putting this out here, this news is all about is Stephen helping us to be aware of what's out there, what's going on, so that we can have conversations about it. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for bringing us a sleepless night tonight.
All right, so I'm gonna see if I can stop the share.
All right.
So
Well, to all of those listening later or watching and listening now, we thank you for
yeah,
spending your time with us. We know you're super busy and today's like a holiday, so go out and hopefully you're uh, enjoy some non-work time today.
yeah.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next Monday.
See ya.